watching a KUSI News special, Decision 2010, the primary.
And we continue our look now at the congressional race for the 51st District. That is where longtime incumbent Bob Filner is expected to face off against Republican Nick Popovich in the November general election.
And right now we are joined by that Republican Nick Popovich. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me on.
And Mr. Popovich, I mean, we just heard from Bob Filner, longtime congressman, heavily Democratic district. We want to begin right now with just a little bit of your background, if you don't mind sharing that with us.
Well, sure. I was a career Marine, and I was medically retired due to wounds sustained in combat in the First Battle of Fallujah. Fought with the 1st Marine Division, and overseas I seen liberty, and I love it. And I knew that my liberty had been paid for by those generations before me. So when I came home, I took up a residence here in Chula Vista. I own a home there, and I looked at the liberty and what are we going to pass down to our children? And so much has been passed on to us. Those generations went before us, fought for my liberty. And I feel compelled to pass the same liberty on to our children.
Did you always want to do this, or was it inspired by your service?
No, I'm a citizen, and I care about my country, and I feel the time is now to not just sit on the sideline. General Mattis, my commanding general, had a great expression. He said, you ask a Marine to move a piano, he doesn't start by picking up the bench, and neither did I, so I ran for Congress.
Nick, most of the polls right now show Americans are absolutely not happy with what's going on in Washington. How would you change that?
Well, sure, and it's not. That's the thing is when I get out and talk, everybody recognizes what's broke, so I have to talk about what I can do better. What am I going to change? And it's a whole different philosophy. Limited government. Let's lower those taxes. Let's stop with these premises that government can create jobs. They cannot create jobs. They can just take money away from those who do. When you tax those over 200,000 or whatever that moving target number is, you're taxing small business. Let's keep that money in the community. Let's keep it there in Chula Vista. Keep it in National City. Keep it in Calexico. Instead of sending it off to Washington, D.C., let's keep it there and let them grow jobs. And it's ridiculous when you tell the citizen that we're just going to raise a tax on the other guy. You raise a tax on a grocery store owner, he just raises the price of milk. So you pay it. We all pay it. And the only difference is the money leaves our district. It doesn't stay there. Let's keep it there. Let's grow jobs. Leave it in the private sector.
Another issue that's just, it sounds like moving mountains, but do you think you could do anything to ease the polarization between Democrats and Republicans? We're seeing a lot of that right now.
Absolutely. It's quality leadership, moral clarity. We just have to get on board with what's the right thing to do. And if you're doing the right thing and somebody's not doing it, it's very easy to get them to do the right thing. I've led people all over the world, and I've led Marines into machine gun fire. I can certainly lead congressmen into doing the right thing, I'd like to think.
On some of the key issues, how would you have voted on health care reform? How would you have voted on the bank bailouts? And let me get your take on this, too. How do you feel about the Tea Party movement right now? Because it's certainly picking up a lot of momentum.
I'm a big fan of the Tea Party movement. That's the voice of America. That's Americans using their First Amendment right, getting out and addressing their government. And so, absolutely, if you're not listening to the Tea Party movement, you're missing a big chunk of what's going on out there in the country.
And what about health care, and what about bank bailouts?
Bank bailouts, totally opposed to them. And I'm tired of getting this premise that we were on the brink of something, and I don't buy it for a second. There's things that government should be involved in and things that government should not. That's one thing that government should not. I'm absolutely opposed to it. Government-run health care is another one. That's not a role of the federal government. Now, if you want to improve this health care issue, increase the jobs, increase the employment. We have rising unemployment. That's why people are losing their health care. And they keep trying to fix it other ways. They keep trying to expand this health care when really we just need to expand employment and let people get their own health care because that's the way it's designed to be.
When you're talking about the roles of the federal government versus the roles of the state or the local government, your take on Arizona's immigration law?
Now, I support the Arizona immigration law, and here's why. Because it mirrors the federal government law. Now, I'm not running for an office in Arizona, so merely I'm just voicing a verbal support. But how I will help those people if elected to Congress is I'll complete that border fence. You look at San Diego, we got a 60% lower crime rate than they do in Phoenix, Arizona. That border fence works for keeping that criminal element out.
So does that mean calling out the National Guard and adding more troops?
Now, the National Guard, I believe in solutions. So if that were the only solution we had, I would support it. However, I think that's the wrong tool for the job. We have the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol is equipped to do it. They're trained to do it. They speak the language to do it. And we have a hiring freeze on Border Patrolmen. But yet we're mobilizing the National Guard. That just seems like the wrong tool for the job. Let's get those Border Patrolmen. Let's rehire them now also in the 51st Congressional District. Those Border Patrolmen live there. They live in our community. So that's one way we can bring tax dollars from Washington, D.C. into our community. They live there. They buy homes there. They buy groceries there. That's one way that the federal government can send money to our district legitimately, constitutionally, not earmarks, not riders, not all this other baloney we've been doing.
So we don't need new language in a new law right now, then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have here in California, we have everything that Arizona law provides for. We have 287G, which empowers the county sheriffs to actually enforce federal immigration law. It's already on our books. I don't know why we're arguing about it right here. And I'll tell you another thing. After what I've seen in that LA school district, I'll tell you, I just became a bigger supporter of the school vouchers than I was before that. That is ridiculous. And I'm getting tired of the language of un-American. If you're a member of the executive branch in our government and you don't want to enforce the law, you need to find another job. You don't make the law, you enforce the law. Get out there and enforce it.
You have a lot of energy. I heard you talking earlier about your district, and it's a district to get excited about. You said you have a little bit of everything there.
Oh, it's a beautiful district, beautiful place to live. And it has everything. And they say, oh, I've heard this term when I first got in the race.
All
they say
peoples, though, too.
Absolutely. Everything. We have farmers out there in the Imperial Valley. We've got inner city in East San Diego. We've got every ethnicity, I think every social class imaginable. And it's a beautiful place. I love campaigning there. I love walking every street. And I haven't found a street yet in that district that my values, my conservative values, American values, limited government, strong national defense, secure borders, and strong family values doesn't resonate on. I think we're going to do real well there.
All right.
All right. Good luck to you.
Thanks
you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
And a reminder once again, this Tuesday is the primary election, of course. The polls are going to be open bright and early at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And we are joined now by the San Diego County Registrar of Voters, Deborah Seiler. Ms. Seiler, first of all, thanks for being with us. We mentioned that the polls will be open early for voting this weekend. I guess the first question, obviously, is do you still need poll workers? Do you still need some help down there?
We're doing pretty well with poll workers for this election, believe it or not. What we have done, our strategy has been to recruit many standbys, because every primary election particularly, and I think every election in general, we have people who say they can be poll workers and then they drop off. So at this point, we're just managing those people who've now called in to say they can no longer work.
What kind of turnout are you expecting?
We're expecting a turnout somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 45%. As we're seeing the returns come in slowly, though, from all those mail ballots that we sent out, I'm beginning to think that perhaps that turnout is going to reach the lower end of that 35% prediction.
Been driving by your building every day. I see all the signs that you guys have out there directing all of your poll workers where to go, all of that. So I know you're getting ready, but our live coverage of the election begins at 8 o'clock when the polls close. When do you start to expect to get those results coming in?
Well, the first big batch of results that we'll release election night is right at 8 o'clock. When the polls close, we release all those votes from the mail ballots that have been coming into our office. So currently, we have about 179,000 ballots in the office. And those will be scanned. They will be ready to release. We can't release any results until the polls close, of course. So right when they do close, we have those mail ballot results ready to go. And that probably will be anywhere from 25 to 30% of the entire vote cast in the election.
And, and oftentimes, that's a pretty good indication of where the races will lead.
That's a very good indication. And then, of course, 4,000 square miles, San Diego County, it takes a couple of hours for all of those ballots to get into our office and start scanning them as we do. So that,
if I understood you correctly, a low voter turnout, you think, in this primary?
Yes, primaries typically have a lower turnout.
But even though it's a primary, does that surprise you somewhat, given the issues that are on the ballot, given immigration, given the economy, given jobs? I mean, there's some really tough pocketbook issues out there right now.
It always surprises me. Primary elections are important, but they are not well understood by the voters. The voters don't understand. We see ballots coming in where people are writing in the top candidate for the other party. They don't, I don't think, truly understand the nature of a primary election, which is on the partisan side to nominate their partisan candidates. So I think it's not particularly well understood. And on the Democratic side, there's not quite the vibrant contest that there is on the Republican side. So, you know, it's tough for voters to really focus on all those issues.
Kind of grasp the issues,
They are important. There's no question.
I know this is an extremely busy time for you. So, Deborah Seiler, San Diego County Registrar of Voters, we appreciate you coming in. And, of course, we'll be checking in with you a lot on Tuesday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.